under the impression I'm not going to tell anybody what to do until I do it myself. There's no
Amen.
way. I'm not going to tell anybody how to overcome something unless I've overcome it myself. So I think that's where your brilliance is, and you're just very cellophane. People love cellophane speakers. You can see straight through them. And
Well, you know
what they
what?
see is your big heart. I love that.
But Jane, I also understand why people don't want anyone to see them, because this thing called life is painful. And most
Yeah.
people can't stand to see themselves. You know, we read the good book that says sometimes you can look in the mirror and walk away and forget what you look like. Well, there are a lot of people who don't want to see themselves. And the only reason my story is different is, I've seen murder. I've seen prostitution. I've seen half of my family addicted to crack cocaine. And the ones that weren't addicted, they were selling it. I visited I am far too comfortable in a prison setting. From the time I was born until just a couple of years ago, by the way, my dad was given 96 years in prison. This is my foster father, who I told you I lost in high school on my birthday, December 4th. And it took us over 20 years to fight his case. But you know what? We brought him home a few years ago. My dad is a free man now. He got his case overturned, but he spent over 20 years of his life in prison. And my wife and I, we had gone on to have a very successful life, and we had money and all this stuff that people in the world thinks is important. And we realized that stuff's not important. I wanted my father home. And even though he wasn't my real father, he was the only dad I knew since I was young. And we had to go through therapy, my wife, Lisa, and I, just to prepare our home. We went to therapy for 2 years to talk about how to prepare our home for the inevitable day that he would be released.
Yeah.
And his therapist said, Morris, when he comes home, you're going to have to go into his bedroom at night and take him to the bathroom. I said, my dad's handsome. He's athletic. Like, he can go to the bathroom. She goes, no. For 20 years, he wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom without permission. And see, when you see life from that perspective, then when I stand on these stages, I see through I have a program that I do for very wealthy people around the world. It's called my IA program. Okay. It's called my Influence Over Affluence program. Why? Because I now understand my kids. I got Dory, who's 10, and Aaliyah, who's 11, who we help raise. They've never seen life without a Mercedes or something in the driveway. Okay. My kids don't know what it's like to struggle, right? My kids, they don't know what it's like to not swipe and get whatever they want on Amazon. Like my wife, my daughter doesn't even get excited about Santa Claus like most kids. She gets more excited about the UPS man and the Amazon man, because that's where she gets her sustenance and nutrients from, right? She just swipes. So what that means is my daughter, she overhauled my wife and I on the call the other day. And I wish she didn't hear this. I don't want her knowing this stuff until she's maybe 16 or 17. But last month, my wife and I are finishing up with a client, and I didn't know Dory was listening. She walks in the room. She goes, Daddy, you make a lot of money. I knew you were rich, but man, Daddy. And as soon as she said it, I kind of just put my head on my forehead. Like, it was almost like she caught me and my wife making love or something. That's how I felt. Because my daughter knows that we have what the world would call affluence. But what I want my daughter to have is influence. And so years ago, I developed a program for senior leaders of these major companies who were struggling, knowing that they were country club parents and their kids had all the resources and money in the world, but they struggled teaching their kids character and how to have real influence. And so I call that my IA program. And people out there, they say, oh, Morris, tough luck. You're saying all these rich people have problems. No, everybody has problems. So it doesn't matter if you don't have money. If you do have money, you are on a journey to uncover your story and your pain so that you can have influence. And going back to what you just said, Jane, some people, they don't want to look at themselves for what they really are, because that's a painful, hard thing. And I was forced to do that at an early age, because when you're on your own and you go through foster care, you just know that no one cares. And even if that's not true, you tell yourself that nobody cares. And so you just have to figure out how to make your way in this world. And that's what I want for people.